I'd like to call to order the June 4, 2013 meeting of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners. And as always, we'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you join me in prayer, please. God, thank you for the summer season. Long days, warm weather. Plants grow. People grow. Help us to grow in our compassion for others, forgiveness, love, all the things that we've been instructed to do. Let us each change as our yards change, as our gardens change, and be a reminder that we can be better people with improved contacts, interactions with our friends, our family, and those we don't care for. We give thanks and praise for this beautiful and wonderful world that we live in. Thank you for all the men and women that we have the pleasure to work with, to make policy, to decide what's best for our community. And God, most of all, just thank you for the chance to be here and work with these wonderful people. Amen.
Amen.
In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the Commission, it's the duty of every commissioner to avoid both actual and apparent conflicts of interest. Does any board member know of any conflict of interest or potential conflict with respect to any matter on our agenda today?
No.
All right, then we'll continue, and we will start with our public comment. The time limit for any comment to the Commission is 3 minutes. If your time expires, you can leave any questions along with your name, address, phone number, and email with our county manager. Commissioners are not expected to comment on matters during public comment. This is your chance to talk to us. Comments should be limited to subjects that are within the jurisdiction of the Commission or pertain to matters that we can actually act on. Any individual speaking during public comment should address the entire board. Any polling or asking us to vote on matters is inappropriate. Persons addressing the Commission are expected to observe the decorum of the Commission and the chamber here and be respectful to everyone in the room. Any person who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts the session will be asked to leave the meeting. And the Commission deserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to the board. Before we get going, I would recognize our sheriff is here. Thank you, Sheriff Duncan. And we have many, many fire chiefs that do a wonderful job for us. And as I said in the pre-session, we wouldn't have a county without your leadership, your help, and the sheriff's public safety and your fire safety and emergency service that you give us all. Thank you. Public comment tonight. Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Getting shorter and shorter seeing y'all. I'm glad you're having more meetings, but the public isn't getting the benefit of it. Having a meeting at 11:30 today, I got to enjoy it, but I was the only member of the public except the media. You need to consider having meetings at a time that people can be there. On your agenda here, you're talking about community meetings. You talked about it in the retreat and going out. I'd like to remind you, when you was elected, you should have started then. You've already got a 7.9% hike in mind. You've got all these big projects in mind, and the budget will be voted on. Everybody's going, what are you going out to community for after everything's done? That'd be the thought I'd have. I reckon yins are geniuses. Yins can foresee the future, and the public they don't know. We should represent the people as commissioners. A couple of things I've been told since you have come as commissioners that I would get moved up to the front. And the media, TV 13 back here, they can't even see. You ought to go see their monitor. They can't even see 60 foot away enough to get you. And you ought to be protector and get a good face. So I'd like for that to be fixed for us. The other thing, people coming to the commission meeting, they're having to pay to park. I think you ought to use a voucher system some way that the taxpayers don't have to pay $3 and $4 over in the parking garage to have to come to a meeting. That would be something else that I'd like to bring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment tonight? And we will have a separate public hearing on the budget, so you're welcome to speak now or speak then, or both. All righty, I don't see any takers, so we will proceed with our agenda. Is there a motion to follow the agenda as we've discussed? A motion by Commissioner Newman, second by Commissioner King. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of following the agenda as we have discussed it, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. By 7-0 vote, we will proceed. Next, we have the consent agenda capital projects ordinance. And who'll be presenting this? On consent. Okay. Well, we've approved that then. Why don't we go ahead and get a brief report on what it is then? Just we have by adopting the agenda, we do the consent automatically, but if we could just have basically a briefing on it.
This is moving capital funds around to cover a project and close out projects for the end of the year.
Okay, so basically it's just bookkeeping to get the money in the right pots where it's supposed to be for our accounting purposes and auditing purposes. Okay, is there any question about that? All righty. So let's get to the main course here. Is there a county, any good news? Everything's good news around here, right? We have the chiefs here. We are the safest place in the world with the sheriff and the chiefs here. Okay, no specific good news. So let's get on the budget. We'll have our public comment. I will start us up at 4:38, and any member of the public that wishes to be heard on our 2013-2014 budget, we'd like to hear from you. Yes, let me go ahead and let Dr. Green start us off, and then we'll start our public comments.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, just in response to the question, our fire marshal will not let us put anything over in here, but the people who have cameras are welcome to take them off the tripod and come up to get the shots that they would like to have. If we can start the PowerPoint. I just want to give you a brief overview of what we heard last week. Oh, yeah. This is our 2013-14 budget. It was built in a different environment because we had revaluation. I want to just remind you how that affected the residences in the community. For the entire county, the base for residents was down 3.3%. That means that we had 47,200 parcels that decreased in value overall and 36,800 parcels that increased in value. That varies significantly from district to district. Before revaluation, we had a $30 billion tax base, and when it was over, we had a 27.6 for a $2.8 billion loss in the tax base. It took the value of a penny from $3 million down to $2.7 million, and it took revenue neutral. It set revenue neutral at 57.83 cents instead of 52.5. We built the budget that you have before you tonight on a 56.9 cent tax rate for the general fund. The total budget is $337 million. The breakdown is $264.6 million in the general fund and $72.5 million in the other operating funds. It is a 0.7% decrease in the general fund, or $1.8 million lower than 2013. There are a few things that we did have to include, mandated or public safety. We do have a loss of federal revenues that took the budget up by $2.4 million. We have to open the courts building, and we have to open another pod in the jail, or two more, so we can handle the state misdemeanors at 1.2. The Affordable Care Act, because of the fee we need to pay and the extending benefits to those who are up to 26 years old, increased our budget by $928,000. Adding an ambulance increases the budget by $552,000. Beginning to pay the debt service on the public safety training facility takes our budget up by $471,000. And unemployment, the state has changed how they're going to recover the funds that they owe the federal government, and that affects every employer, not just county government, but our share is $630,000. We do have in $1.2 million for the school safety report that we heard last week. And in this budget, and the budget we will bring you on the 25th, the bill has not yet passed. It's sitting in the Senate, 418 for a Culture and Recreation Authority. But we do plan to recommend that if the bill passes, and the tax rate for that authority will be 3.5 cents for county operations, and then we would have to see what municipalities would be bringing into the authority before we could set that final tax rate. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have at this point. That's a very brief summary of where we are.
Any questions or comments at this point?
Yeah, I'd like to say that this is something that we've worked on every day.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's not been a day that I haven't come in that we hadn't worked on either trying to reduce spending, try to bring in some of these costs. $8 million in mandates is a heavy lift. When I ran for office, I said I wanted to try to control spending, reduce costs. And given some of the, am I happy with everything? No, I'm not. But am I pleased with the way we've worked together to reduce and save as much as possible? As much as I can be. But I am very pleased with the cooperation that I've had from reducing some of these costs. There was $8 million in requests from nonprofit community services and spending. We agonized over all those for, it's been months. During that time, we agreed to put some controls in on nonprofits to make them better, to recommend they keep their administrative costs at 12%. I think that's a good thing. That's a short-term, we'll see short-term benefits as we have, but we'll also see long-term. And so even though as a new commissioner and many new commissioners up here, this is not going to be the last month that we'll work on a budget. After this budget passes or after this budget finishes, we will continue to work on saving money. We'll work on it every day. And I just want to assure the people that are out there that that is our intent, and we'll continue to do that. And I appreciate the hard work of all the commissioners on this.
Thank you. Any other comments before we start our public comment or questions for Dr. Green?
I would like to say just one thing. There are a lot of people in this audience that really have made this budget coming together very successful in terms of what they've submitted to us. So I want to thank 99% of who's sitting here who participated in putting the budget together. So I really do express my appreciation to all of you. We do have a brief presentation from Gary to talk about how you can lower your tax bill.
Mr. Chairman, other commissioners, Gary Roberts, tax director, as one had said, you know, one of the toughest things in setting a budget every year, not just during a reappraisal year, but is setting a tax rate. And I've worked in tax a long time over the years, and I've seen, you know, where governing bodies have lowered the tax rate, and I've seen where they've tried to, you know, raise it just a couple of pennies to cover new things that need to be done for the community. I think one of the toughest things that any governing board, between the county, the 6 municipalities that are going to set tax rates, and all the fire districts, that after you do a reappraisal, there's going to be some tax increases and there are going to be some tax decreases for citizens. Taking that into account and knowing, how you work hard to set your rates as low as possible. I've seen citizens struggle, when the economy is really good, and I've seen citizens struggle during like the Great Recession. So please know that the tax office, we work extremely hard to collect all the tax dollars and to assess properties as best we can. But one of our number one jobs is to work with the citizens in our community to work out ways for them to pay their property taxes to us in order to collect the most that we can collect. So we have a lot of different types of programs that we do to do payment plans, not only just debit cards or credit. There's a lot of different types of payment plans that we have that are payroll deduction or monthly plans. We do automatic drafts from their accounts. There's a lot of things that we do, I think, that can help citizens. But a couple of them that I wanted to talk about tonight in a quick presentation are some programs that gives exclusions and some reductions, tax deferments to citizens during different procedures. And some of the, we'll back up just a little bit. The four main ones I'm going to talk about tonight, two of them are exclusions and then two of them are tax deferments. And I'll go through these very quickly and certainly want you to ask, but it's an opportunity for me to come to you. I know we're on television. It's an opportunity for me to get this information out to the public. We do put this information into tax notices. We did it in the reappraisal when we sent it out. We sent it out in our tax bills so citizens can learn about it. We have it on our website, and we've done PSAs about it. So we really try to get the information out, but I want to go through it kind of quickly so you can see, and also people here tonight can. Elderly exemption. On the elderly exemption, all of these programs, let me say first, have an application that you have to submit in order to be in the program and evaluated to see, do you qualify for it. On the elderly exemption, if you are qualified, you get the greater of $25,000 reduction or 50% reduction in your property taxes. Now you might think, how does $25,000 help somebody? Well, if you have a manufactured home, mobile home, a trailer some people call it, and the value of that is around $20,000 and you're renting a lot that it sits on, it literally wipes out your tax bill. If you have a home that's valued at $200,000, you can reduce it as much as 50%, which is $100,000 it takes off. So I think the way this program was written was to help a lot of different homeowners, ones that might rent the land that they're on, with the manufactured home, or ones that actually own the land and the home. So keep that in mind when you look at this. It does greatly help a lot of citizens. A lot of manufactured home citizens are in this program. Now, some of the requirements for it. It has to be the permanent residence for the citizen. Two ways there. You can do it by age, or it can be totally and permanently disabled. By age, you have to be 65 years of age on January 1st of this year. Can't have a birthday today, turning 65. You got to be 65 January 1st. Now, you can be totally and permanently disabled. We need a statement from your physician showing that you are kind of restricted to your work for that. And we have forms on our website for that, or you can contact our office and we'll send those forms out. Income. This program is designed that you have to meet a certain level of income. Your income can go up to $28,100. If you're above that, you would not be in the program, but the income we look at is last year's income. Disabled veteran. This one was raised a year or so ago up to the first $45,000 of assessment is taken off of the value. For a disabled veteran, would need to be honorably discharged. It would have to be under permanent service, connected disabilities. And then also there's a part of it that has specially adapted housing funds that a disabled veteran can receive. Surviving spouses under disabled veterans can qualify for this as well. So we have a lot of those that are in the program. Certainly need to contact our office and we'll assist you through that. There is a required form through the Disabled Veterans Association that needs to be certified by their organization in applying for this program. Circuit breaker. This is probably the newer of the reductions. This is a tax deferment. Now, tax deferments are where we defer the taxes on amounts that are not paid. Some portions of that are due back to the county. A lot of it is not, depending on how long you stay in the program. This particular program, being circuit breaker, has a special, kind of like an electrical circuit. It has a certain breaker that kicks in after a certain point, and it's based on income. For this, the whole program is designed for a person's income. And I'm going to kind of go through an example to show you this. But it has the same guidelines as the elderly exemption, that you have to be 65 years or older or totally or permanently disabled. In this particular program, you've had to own the home and live in it for 5 previous years prior to January 1st. If spouses are there, both spouses would have to sign the application because of the deferment requirement. They're both held responsible for that. I'm going to give you an example of this one. This is new, and a lot of people are beginning to apply for it. We see more and more people coming into it. But in the example here, I put the first part of it, income up to $28,100 is calculated at 4% of your income. If you go above the $28,100, that's where the circuit breaker kicks in. And I'll show you that in a second example. But as you can kind of see in the orange or the light brown of the example, if someone has an income of $26,400 and their home's valued at, say, $225,000, I've estimated the tax rates to come up with the numbers for this. But for a tax bill for 2013, I've calculated it would be $2,452.50. We would actually calculate their tax on the income, which would be 4% of the $26,400. And you can see in this case, they would only pay the county and the municipalities or fire districts they're in $1,056. And we would do that distribution between all the entities that they have to pay that to. The amount deferred that they would not have to pay would sit on the county's books, but you can see here it's a savings of almost $1,400 in this example. Now, where the circuit breaker kicks in is if the income goes above the $28,100 but stays less than 150% of that number, the income threshold could go up to $42,150 on this year's income level. And that's when you have a lot of spouses that are living on Social Security or working. You also run into a lot of like brothers living together or siblings that have a property or living that are sharing expenses today. This helps both of them in that circumstance. So if I use the income here in the orange of $41,600 as a combined income, or even if one citizen has that income and it's less than that, where they're going to pay 5% of that income, you can see the tax amount stayed the same for their normal tax bill of $2,452. But the income here figured at 5% would be $2,080. Still a savings to the citizens. They would get a reduction. Some other for large property owners, this is something that's still very much offered and citizens certainly need to look at. There's a couple of programs under here. Wildlife conservation. If somebody has a piece of property that's from 20 acres up to 100, not over 100, but up to 100, and they're using the land to protect wildlife or a wildlife habitat of some type, and I've listed here some of the things that they could do with those. You can get an exemption on the present use of that, using it as a wildlife conservation versus as its ongoing use, for like a development or other types of construction type. Same with forest land. If you're a forester, if you have a minimum of 20 acres, and this can exceed 100 or however many acres that they're going to have under a sound management plan that they're actually growing trees to harvest. You have to be willing to cut the trees and harvest the trees at some point. Now, when you harvest trees, you don't do that every year. Sometimes it's a hardwood, might take 20, 25 years for those to harvest. County offers reductions for those people that are in that. Again, we do it at the present use value of the property and not, the normal everyday use of what it might be. Same with agriculture. If you're doing crops, plants, or animals, you have a minimum of 10 acres, you can come into the program. Horticulture, more people it's kind of been for fruit and nursery type items. I see more people coming under with more of the organic type of vegetables now, which is good. We encourage that. But if you have a minimum of 5 acres or up, you can come under horticulture. Each of those have different levels of reduction of that present use. They're not all the same, but we will help you as you try to qualify for those programs. find which one is best suited for you. But I want to, again, say that I know in setting taxes, citizens sometimes get nervous with the budgets. Please know that our office is there to help and assist our citizens. If they walk in the door, we're going to introduce them to some of these programs. We're going to talk to them about a lot of different things that we can do. We're going to ask a lot of questions about their homes, even though the appeal process is behind. If we think for some reason we've done it incorrectly, we're going to open the door and look at it. Now, a citizen doesn't have the necessarily right to come in and appeal that, but if we made an error, we will correct that. I will stand behind that. That's the right thing to do for a citizen. So keep in mind, if you run into them or citizens hear this show tonight and won't certainly call us, please do. We will certainly assist you with your tax bill as they come out this August. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Do you have any idea of what percentage of citizens use those exemptions?
Percent numbers, not right off. I can tell you on the elderly exemption, we've got a little over 4,000. On the circuit breaker, it is a new program that's gotten started about 3 years. I think we're probably a little less than 50 applications, but that one with the deferred side of it, I think as people begin to understand how that deferred side works, more of them are coming in that program. And just to talk a little bit about that, if you go into it and the taxes are deferred, and you disqualify for different reasons, like you sell it, you don't own it, or you pass away, there are 3 years that you pay back of that. But if you're in that program for 20 years, you can see there's a lot of years that you're getting credit that you never have to pay back. So I think each citizen has to look at that individually. But we do see the horticulture growing more. I think the ones that have large tracts are under forestry. They're pretty much not growing. You actually see a few of those come out as they split those properties or as families do different estate planning and shrink the size of that acreage. I think that might give you some of the numbers.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Roberts? Thank you, Gary, and thanks for working with people.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you that my years here, you have worked with everyone that I have referred to you and thousands of others that have difficulty with this, and thank you for doing that.
Never do we want to feel like, from the county's view, that we're putting somebody out of their home. That's the last thing. We all realize that we have taxes, and we pay taxes based on the amount of value that we so choose to own in a home. But part of the tax office's job is to work through that and see that we help citizens. So call us if you need that help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments before we start public? Let's go with public hearing. We'll open up at 4:58. Any members of the public wish to be heard on the 2013-2014 budget? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Pace. As Ms. Pace is coming up, if anybody else wants to speak, if you can just come up and sit on the front row. I would like to recognize Asheville City School Superintendent Alan Johnson and Buncombe County School Superintendent Tony Baldwin are both here. I noticed they come in. Thank you for being here, gentlemen, and your work with the schools. Ms. Pace.
Hi, thank you. My name is Michelle Pacewood, and I'm just here on behalf of the group Equal Education for Inca, just to read a note for you in regards to your discussions today. It's a group of over 250 parents and citizens from the Inca School District. First, we would love to thank our commissioners and staff for all the work they have done with us and support they give to our public schools and teachers all over Buncombe County, and also for the open communication that our group has received from all of them. We understand the budget challenges that you're facing today, and as Buncombe County grows, so does the need for services. We hope very soon that the Buncombe County School Board will be bringing you a request to fund an intermediate 5-6 school for the Inca District. This has been a long time coming, and we're very excited about the possibility of it being built. We're just asking you today, as you make budget decisions, to just keep our future request in mind. And once again, we just want to make sure that our school district doesn't get into a position where we're having to wait again for years for the solution to our overcrowding issues in Inca District. Thank you very much for all the work you do, and we understand the challenges and decisions that you're going to have to make. And also, we want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, sir. Yes, come on up and y'all can sit on the front row. Carl?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'm Carl Silverstein. I'm the director of the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy, which is a local nonprofit land trust. I serve on the county's Land Conservation Advisory Board, which promotes the use of conservation easements as a voluntary tool to help keep our scenic ridgelines as lovely as they are today, and our streams pristine, and our family farms intact for present and future generations to use and enjoy. These conservation easement agreements really do help families in the county pass down their farms to the next generation. So we want to encourage that. And since 2006, the county has awarded several grants each year to help cover a portion of the cost of placing some of the most significant properties under conservation easement. And 30 conservation easements have been accomplished through this program, and it's protecting almost 15,000 additional acres in the county since 2006. And these are special places that people love, like the Claxton Farm in Weaverville, Hickory Nut Gap Farm in Fairview, and the Bee Branch Farm in Sandy Mush, just to name a few examples. Today, I'd like to ask the Commission to include $242,000 in the new budget for several outstanding conservation easement opportunities that are underway in the county. And these are not administrative expenses of the organization. These are directly for accomplishing these conservation projects. And that $242,000 number includes several projects that Soil and Water is working on, $70,000, which Maria Wise will follow me and describe those projects to you. The $242,000 also includes $172,000 for conservation easements that the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy is working on. And these are in Fairview, Sandy Mush, and Lester. Each of these has been reviewed by the Agricultural Advisory Board, which vetted them and voted to recommend that the county approve these funds. I've handed out to you a summary of the incredible leveraging. The second column shows the $172,000 that we're requesting from the county. The first column, you'll see federal Farm and Ranch Protection Program dollars of $608,000 will be leveraged. The landowner contribution of value is $303,000. The State Farmland Trust Fund will match with $100,000, and private donors have committed $162,000. So the requested funds will leverage $1,173,000 in matching.
Okay. Thank you, Carl. Wonderful program. Yes, ma'am.
And thank you. I'm Maria Wise with the Soil and Water Conservation District, and I'm staff for the Agricultural Advisory Board. And you'll notice you have two projects in front of you, the Hutchins Conservation Easement and the Peterson Easement. I'd like to talk about the Hutchins project a little bit first. Just specifically, this is 84 acres in Lester. It's close to some of our other easements that the county holds, like the Snelson easement. The thing that really stands out about this project is they have 91% prime and locally important soils, which is almost unheard of in this part of the county, in this part of the state. And so we're really pleased to protect those soils for farming in the future. And that's one of the reasons they rank so high on the county priority ranking list. They ranked out at 3rd out of 28, and you'll see that on your 4th page. And I'm asking for funds just to cover the transaction costs to put this property in an easement at around $35,000, and that will leverage close to $500,000 from state and federal grant sources. The second project is the Peterson Conservation Easement in Fairview. This is 168 acres. Janet Peterson has a very diversified operation out there. She does everything from making honey and growing heirloom chickens and a U-pick blueberry patch to a lot of very intensive timber and forestry management where she protects the health of the forest and does selective timbering. And this is a very large parcel, and it's also close to other protected lands, and that's the reason she ranked second on the priority ranking system. So these are both projects that the Ag Advisory Board deems very high priority for protection, and this is also just a request for transaction costs of $35,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Next public comment.
Very cool.
Mr. Rice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You know, you act different when you see the people in white. You act like they come to get you. And they might do it one of these days because these people that get their tax bill here next August, they might be having more to go get after they see how many heart attacks it causes. But this tax rate that's going up, I think we're going to feel the pain much worse than you are anticipating. I am concerned today that you're having a public hearing and your mind ain't even made up. This nonprofit list ain't nowhere near getting done. It's $8 million. Nowhere getting done. And let me say this. DSS budget has got holes in it on its contracts waiting for you to fill them holes that they sent to you because they didn't have the holes filled. So now I'm going to check at the end and find how many holes that went in there from the list that you're taking away from. So, you know, when you do revenue neutral, you need to be cutting something, not taking it out of one pocket and putting it in another. On the 4-year reevaluation, you moved it to 2 years. You done the 2006 and then you done the 2010 or something like that. What I'm saying, you short cycled. In revenue neutral, according to School of Government, it's on a 4 and an 8 year cycle. So now this revenue neutral is looking at a different cycle now. Now, I'm not here today to bring you the real information that I'm going to give you because I don't think I'm any different than you. You're undecided today, and why did you put the public hearing at a time and date that you ain't even made your decisions yet in what you think, so the public don't even know what's on your mind? Now, you might be smarter than I am, but I don't think that you need to be having a public hearing. You moved it from 1 week to the next week to a public hearing. The public ain't had time to even absorb anything in that length of time. I think you need to move the hearing more closer to the date that you think you're going to do it, because I don't think it's fair to the public to be thrown a curveball either. You might think you're getting a curveball from legislators and people like that, but the public needs to be informed. I might be the only yapper up here, but let me tell you, it's because I've got the time to come, and I'm going to keep yapping. I hope that you consider the tax rate and get the taxes down for the people. This is ungodly too high, and we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment on the budget? If not, I'll declare the public hearing closed at 5:11. Thank you. The next order of business is designation of voting delegate for the National Association of Counties Annual Conference in Fort Worth, Texas. I would nominate Commissioner Belcher for that position.
I'll second that.
Been a motion by the chairman, second by Commissioner Frost. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Commissioner Belcher, thank you for serving.
Thank you.
I
Do
think
our
we'll
best.
have at least 3 commissioners going. If there are more than 3, we will have a public notice of that. That is July 19 and 22 in Texas. Board appointments, Mountain Area Workforce Development Board. We have 12 vacancies. Are there any nominations?
I will nominate, I'm just going to nominate all the people here because they all need reappointing or appointing, correct?
Yes,
I would like to nominate Bob Kendrick, Linda Biggers, Lorraine Poe, Pat Boyd, Peter Cook, Brian Dover, Dr. Hank Dunn, Rick Ellingberg, Steve Garrison, Catherine McIntyre, and Adelia Para, and Dusty Rhodes. All are representing different facets of required sectors in our community.
A motion by Vice Chair Jones, second by Commissioner Newman. Are there any other nominations? All those in favor of appointing those individuals, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. These individuals are either appointed or reappointed. Announcements. The next regular meeting of our board will be June 25, not June 18 as regularly scheduled, beginning at 4:30 in these chambers. Commission meetings can be seen on BCTV Charter Cable Channel 2, ATT UVerse Channel 99, live buncombecounty.org during the meetings, or online anytime at buncombecounty.org. No change in our no need for a closed session tonight, Mr. Frew?
No closed session.
All right, then. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So,
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner King. Is there a second?
second.
Second by Vice Chair Jones. Is there any further comment from the board at this point before we adjourn? We will be giving public we will be voting on the budget on June 25, and we will have further discussion among the board and be hearing from you in between.
I do have one thing. I think she may have already gone, but I thank Michelle for bringing those comments regarding the Inca area, and I want to thank Mr. King for going over there. He and I went over and toured the Inca Middle School, as well as we've toured Isaac Dixon, Asheville Middle, but we want to just share our commitment to the schools in the area, as well as the schools in our district. And I thank them, all those 250 people, for writing us and letting us know. And we wanted to make sure that they knew we're out there trying to do our best to serve them. Appreciate the city schools and the county schools being represented here tonight. Thank you for what you do.
All right. And I would again thank, I think we have all the fire chiefs from all the districts or representatives. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for what you do every day. We have the sheriff and representatives. We have school representatives here from city and county. And thank you all for being here. With that being said, is there any other comments before we vote on our adjournment? All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We're adjourned.
Good to meet you. Yes. We had a good, thorough talk, and I think biggest thing is getting the most accurate cost for, and so that we know that So people in the county know that the city is bringing some skin to the game as well. Sure. Yeah, how are you? Good. Yeah, but, yeah. Yeah, we saw that, yeah, we saw that. Right. Yeah.
Well, I think there's